Garnacho's pass into Ahmad wasn't actually what created the shooting opportunity, because it wasn't far enough in front of him, and so Ahmad had to break stride, but what he did next as Bradley was approaching is actually incredibly underrated and something I don't think Antony or Garnacho himself would have done in this situation, and you'll see exactly what that is when I come on to analysing Ahmad's goal towards the end of the video. But first, even though Ahmad's goal was what won United the game, I think the main reason as to why United dominated extra time for large parts was because of this specific tactical change that Ten Hag made to his defensive shape in extra time, which made United's press a lot more effective, even though it was a higher risk tactic. Though I would argue that the opportunity it gave Liverpool was actually a lot harder for them to take advantage of than how they were initially able to exploit United's press in normal time. But before I break down what happened in extra time from a tactical point of view, if you like me are excited for the upcoming FA Cup semi-final against Coventry, then you can reminisce about the glory days in the FA Cup by going over to Jersey FIFA. They've got all the United retro jerseys from the 90s and 2000s. Use code Atlantis for a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. Now this may seem like a bit of a detour, but in order to fully understand the significance of the tactical change that Ten Hag made in extra time, we first have to look at what his initial pressing strategy was, as well as the issues that United had. So as usual, we see United pressing aggressively during Liverpool's build-up phase in their own defensive third, and as you can see here, Bruno Fernandes and Højlund press the keeper and centre-backs from the front, with both of United's midfield double pivot, Mainoo and McTominay, pushing up tight onto Liverpool's of Endo and McAllister. And so this means that when Kelleher receives possession, the pass to the edge of the box isn't on, because of McTominay and Mainoo's proactive pressing positions. And because Højlund has dropped off a little with Bruno Fernandes pressing from United's left, Kelleher's only option is out to Van Dijk, and because Højlund applies pressure as soon as Van Dijk receives it, his only option is a hopeful long ball upfield, allowing United to win the second ball and regain possession. However, because United's backline drop off instead of squeezing up when the midfield and front line presses, if United's front two or three get the timing or positioning of their press slightly off, it allows the opposition to work the ball out of the defensive third, but also into United's half, as we'll see here. So once again we see United in that 4-4-2 shape in the middle third, and this time it's Mainoo who's pushed up on his own onto Endo, with Garnacho and McTominay sitting deeper with McAllister and Szoboszlai. But the problem arrives here as Liverpool go back to the keeper. Because Højlund has been instructed to aggressively press the keeper and centre-backs, he instantly makes a move to pressurise Kelleher, but because the backline is so deep, Garnacho has to retain this central position with McAllister, rather than having a player behind him who can simply step onto McAllister, allowing Garnacho to now move out and pressurise the right side. And so because he can't push out and fill the space that Højlund vacates, this leads to a disjointed press from United, where the front three of Mainoo, Bruno and Højlund are looking to press aggressively, with the rest of the midfield and defensive line being a lot more passive and actually dropping off, which leaves Van Dijk open, and Kelleher just plays the ball out over the top of Højlund, and now Van Dijk can drive into the defensive third, and because Mainoo, Bruno and Højlund have been taken out of the game with that one pass, now Liverpool are able to exploit massive amounts of space in the midfield as United's backline drop off, leaving McTominay completely isolated in the centre and allowing Liverpool to progress the ball all the way into United's defensive third. But how did Ten Hag change it in extra time, and what was the effect? Well, because by this point Wan-Bissaka and Varane had gone off and Anthony Eriksen and Ahmad had come on, Ten Hag only had 3 recognised defenders on the pitch, and so it almost forced his hand a bit to go a lot more aggressive in the press. Even though I would argue that he could have equally done the opposite and retreated from the press instead and sat a lot deeper. However, rather than retreating, Ten Hag pushed another man into the midfield line, pressing in a 3-4-3 shape, with Ahmad, McTominay and Rashford pressing from the front, and a midfield 4 of Garnacho, Eriksen, Fernandes and Antony behind them. And the effect of having an extra man higher up the pitch can be seen here, as it's Ahmad who's applying pressure to Kelleher from the right side, and now United can go man for man high up the pitch because they've relinquished the extra defender in the back line, meaning that McTominay and Eriksen are pushed up high onto Liverpool's double pivot. Rashford is stopping the pass to the right-sided centre-back Quansah, whilst Garnacho and Fernandes are out of picture to the left, also man-to-man pressing on that left side, whilst Antony on United's right, which was the exact pass that we saw Kelleher play when Højlund tried to press him from a similar position in the first half. And so with United going man for man this high up the pitch, this forces Kelleher long, and even though United are left man for man at the back also, because United were excellent and not just winning the first ball but also the second ball, Liverpool weren't able to take advantage of this, and this meant that Liverpool weren't able to play out from the defensive third, And so being forced into longer, low probability balls upfield, there was a lot of turnovers in extra time. United themselves weren't trying to control the game, however, with Onana, Bruno Fernandes and Eriksen being the main distributors of frequent long passes upfield, trying to free Garnacho and Rashford in behind. And so because neither side were able to retain solid possession and work the ball up with sustained possession through each third of the pitch, the game overall had very little control and felt like an NBA game almost because of how back and forth it was, which definitely suited United more. Now, even though there was a lot more chance of Liverpool being able to break through United with one long pass up pitch if one of Lindelof, Maguire or Dalot misjudged or lost a long ball, I think that was a lot harder for Liverpool to do than it was for them to play through United's 4-4-2 press in the first half. Harvey Elliott's long-range deflected strike could be seen as unfortunate, but Ten Hag and United did eventually get their reward for playing on the front foot and committing an extra player forward to the press, and it came initially from Kelleher rolling the ball out to Darwin Núñez on the left side, and really from this position, I don't know why he's not just playing safe and going backwards to Robertson. But you can see because United are committed to pushing up the pitch in a 3-4-3 rather than a 4-4-2, they're able to go man for man with Dalot this time joining the press high up and Antony sitting deeper on the left. And as Núñez is coming inside looking for a pass, you can see that with the extra body in central midfield, this allows United to cut off all of Núñez's options infield, with Ahmad blocking the passing lane into McAllister, and even though a passing lane does open up slightly to Endo, because Ahmad is so close to Núñez, he's able to deflect the pass into the path of McTominay, and now United are in the perfect counter-pressing situation, with Liverpool's whole midfield behind the ball, and their defensive line stretched as United have a 4v3, with Ahmad and Garnacho bursting into the space wide of Van Dijk and Quansah, which actually works to create that space centrally for Rashford, as neither centre-back is able to shift over to get tight to Rashford because it will open up space on their outside for one of Ahmad or Garnacho to run into, which means that when McTominay picks the right pass with the perfect timing and weight straight into Rashford's path, he has that little bit of space and time that he needs to first time guide the ball into the bottom corner, making it 3-3. And so because of Ten Hag's tactical change moving from a 4-4-2 press to a more aggressive 3-4-3, giving United that extra body higher up the pitch, Liverpool were unable to establish control over a chaotic extra time period, which meant that going into the 120th minute it was still 3-3, and Liverpool had a corner which gets headed out to the edge of the box, and Ahmad, who eventually scores a goal, is first a contributor via his defensive action to nick the ball off Harvey Elliott, knocking the ball into the path of Garnacho, and for some reason only Conor Bradley is left back for Liverpool, which means that United have the sort of 2v1 that you'd only really see in training. And what Garnacho should be looking to do here is hold on to the ball for as long as possible until Bradley commits, because if he plays a pass too early, Bradley's body positioning is going to allow him to react and get across quickly to close down Ahmad. But ideally Garnacho keeps running until the final third, but just before he passes it, he adjusts his body positioning, feinting as though he's going to drive down the right of Bradley, making the Liverpool defender shift his balance to the other side, which then opens up the perfect opportunity for Garnacho to thread Ahmad in down the left, while simultaneously giving Bradley as hard a time as possible to react and get back across to close Ahmad down. Instead, Garnacho doesn't sell the drive down the outside enough, which allows Bradley to retain his body positioning facing Ahmad, and alongside this, Garnacho's pass isn't far enough in front of Ahmad either, meaning that the Ivorian has to break stride, holding him up, and allows Bradley to get across. However, what Ahmad does next rescues Garnacho's underwhelming pass, and if you didn't rewatch the goal closely, you may have missed it, and that is rather than shifting the ball onto his left foot immediately, Ahmad recognises that Bradley knows exactly what he's going to do, and so if he simply shifts the ball and looks to shoot, there's a good chance that Bradley gets across and makes a block. And so if you watch closely, you can see that as he approaches the ball, Ahmad first squares up, making it look like he could come inside onto his right, which forces Bradley to slow up and halt his run, so that when Ahmad feints with his first touch, pushing the ball into a shooting position on his left, Bradley's body weight is on his back foot, meaning that he can't get across quickly enough to stop Ahmad getting the shot away, and even though the shot lacks power, the placement is so perfect that it hits the post and nestles in the back of the net, giving United a 4-3 victory.